looked out to the audience, the thousands of people that were there, and it didn't matter how they identified or what age they were or, what their hair was like, what they were wearing. None of that mattered. It was just that everyone had that moment of unity, and it was really emotional. And I remember going back to the decks and I started crying. I was really, really overwhelmed by it. Hi everyone, I'm Gok Wan, and I'm talking everything Pride with attitude. Now, I can't remember my first Pride experience, and I like to think it's because I love Pride so much. All of my Pride experiences have just molded into one amazing event over my last 48 years of living. Because when I've got my friends that say to me, oh, do you remember when this happened at Pride, or we saw that act, or, whatever. And I can never remember which one it was. And that's just because I love them all so much. And that is the honest truth. Either that, or I've just drank way too much over my life. I go to Pride because I want to be with the community that I love. I go to Pride to celebrate who I am. I go to Pride to celebrate lots of different people that I know, but also people that I've never met before. I go to Pride because I want my voice to be heard. I go to Pride to hear other people's voices. I go to Pride because I want our siblings around the world who aren't as fortunate as us to be able to have a Pride, to be heard by us, and to let them know that we are standing with them in some of the most horrendous circumstances. And so I go to all of the Prides every single year for all of those reasons and so much more. When I'm at Pride, I am at my most polarized excited. I'm brimming from ear to ear. I'm excited, and the lead up to Pride, when I get there, I get somewhere between nervous and excitement, that moment in between the two. And I'm like that all day long, from watching the marches, to meeting new people, to standing on stage, to DJing, to being in the crowd, to watching the different acts. I just feel complete joy and happiness all day long, and I genuinely get really bad Pride blues when the season's over, there's no more to go to. I genuinely feel really sad about it. I don't think there's any one particular moment in Pride, any of the Prides, that stands out for me. I think there's just a collection of them. There was a time in Manchester I was DJing on the main stage. I think probably the first time that I DJed there. And I remember looking out to the audience, and every single person was bouncing in time to the same bass line. And it was incredible. There was another time at London Pride at Trafalgar Square. I think actually it was World Pride. I think London was hosting World Pride, and I was hosting it on the main stage with lots of different other people. And I remember looking out and having that same feeling of unity and community and togetherness. And so those moments for me are really big, and that's what I want from Pride. And I think that comes from a place of when I was younger and I was probably not out, but I knew myself and I was coming out, is that I really desperately wanted to belong to the community. I wanted to feel like I had a family. And then, even though I'm a 48-year-old, very out person now, I guess I still hunt for those moments. I still want to feel the community inside me and me inside them as a moment of one person, I guess. Pride for me is a collection of different things. Pride for me is political. Pride for me is a celebration. Pride for me is, like I've said, togetherness and community and all of those things. And I selfishly try and get as much as I possibly can out of every single Pride. So regardless of whether it's one of the smaller regional ones or one of the massive, massive ones like London, Manchester, or Birmingham, or Brighton, any of those, I try and get as much out of it as possible. But I really love the politics behind it. I love the march. I love hearing the voices. I love meeting people. I love having the opportunity to congratulate people on the amazing work they do for the community. But also as well, a few years ago, I was really lucky to host a global Pride campaign where we talked about how lucky we are in the UK that we get to celebrate and we get to be elaborate and get dressed up and march down the streets, and that's not illegal. But actually in many countries it's still illegal. You're not allowed to do that. And that for me was a really, really moving film to make. And so for me, I also want to make sure that when I'm standing in any Pride, regardless, is that we are being heard on behalf of the people that aren't able to march or are afraid to do it or is illegal. all of those horrendous things that are happening around the world. I think that, we've had a lot of headlines this year: conversion therapy, the trans debate, lots of different things going on this year. But every single year we do. And every single year, Pride has to stand for the politics, not just the celebration, but the politics. So as much as we go and celebrate at Pride, we're also fighting for equality, we're fighting for change, we're fighting for difference. But that is no difference this year to the year before or the year before that. It's no different. That Pride is there for all of those reasons. And I'm not saying that people have to go to Pride and they're not allowed to celebrate, they have to just be purely political, because that's not what it's about. But I'm also turning around and saying, that the people go there for different reasons, and I think that is no different to 2020 to 2022. It's no different. We are still fighting, and we're still searching for equality, and we still have to be heard, and this is our opportunity to be heard. For anybody who is struggling with their sexuality or is working out their identity, I would say, whatever happens, you have to know that there are people out there who are on your side. You are absolutely not alone. And I, for one, like many people that have come out and that have gone through working out what their sexuality means to them, have had moments of isolation, or long moments, years possibly of isolation, feeling like you're the only person. But you may not have somebody in your house. You may not have somebody who is your neighbour, or even in your village or your street or your town, that you feel that gets you or will accept you. But I can absolutely guarantee you right now, myself, the community, us, we are 100% supporting you. We are 100% backing you, and we are with you. So you're not alone. So just remember that. And I know it's tough, but you will get to a place where you will find, hopefully, happiness with who you are, and that will be done with all of us. And my do's with Pride is do Pride safely. Make sure that you are, if you can be, with your community, with your friends and everything else. They are busy events. There's lots of things going on. Have your wits about you as well. Anything. If you went to any festival, I would say that to anyone. I would say enjoy it and get as much out of it as you possibly can, and just completely swallow up that atmosphere and that feeling, because it is something to be celebrated. And I would say also as well, maybe just take a moment to remember why we do Pride, if you possibly can. And whatever conclusion you come to is the right conclusion, but just take a moment to think about what Pride is. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to check out all the other Prides at Home with Attitude and enjoy your Pride season. Be safe, but most importantly, be yourselves.